You're listening to the Naptime Empires podcast with my mom, Nikki Elledge Brown. Mom, your show's on.
Thanks, bud. I got it from here. Welcome to the Naptime Empires podcast, refreshingly honest conversations on the realities of parenthood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Nikki Elledge Brown. Let's get started. All right. Well, actually, before we officially dive into the conversation I'm really excited about today, I just want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We're actually publishing this on Christmas 2017, just for seasonal context, because you may be listening to this while it comes out, or maybe like 3 years from now in the future, which is actually kind of related to what we want to talk about. But either way, from deep in the heart of Texas, from my family to yours, sending you love. All right, so now let's really dive in. You may or may not have listened to the origin story of my business. It's back in episode 1 in a conversation I had with my buddy Morgan McDonald. And just a quick recap, the relevant part of what you need to know for this conversation is that it was sparked by journaling. Quiet time in the morning for the first time ever at that point in Bryson's life. He's now 6, but he was a toddler whenever I was starting my business. But again, I didn't even know I was starting my business. I was just journaling. I had chosen faith as my word of the year for 2013. And that was because my husband was about to be moving across the country for 7 months for training for the military. And until then, he had been home. You know, it's called shore duty, where he was home at least, you know, whether he was working the day or night, he was home at some point every day, you know, so we hadn't had to deal with like the whole long distance, like air quotes, real military life yet. And so I chose faith as my word of the year so that I could just really get rooted in what wouldn't change and that I'd be able to handle whatever came my way and whatever. So I made that conscious effort. And as a result, I started waking up sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes just 15 minutes before Bryson and Jeremy would wake up. And I would go downstairs at our house in Hawaii, little duplex, and have some quiet time and journal. And I was doing a devotional book at the time, but the key for me was just actually having that quiet time, you know, where I was actually waking up before the sun, literally, and before my son as well, and just having some quiet time, like to greet the day before it just like, you know, slapped me in the face with the adrenaline rush of the mommy or crying, really, because it was only 18 months. It was life-changing, literally life-changing, because that's when I noticed in those quiet mornings when I had that time to myself and I would put pen to paper, it's when I started to notice what I call, and I have a whole episode on the divine breadcrumbs that had always been leading me to this path of sharing and connecting and storytelling and communicating in a bigger way than what I'd been doing. And I would have not noticed those divine breadcrumbs if I hadn't just kind of pushed pause and zoomed out and just shifted things up and shaken things up and given myself a chance to just have a few moments of quiet. So what happened was I started to notice like, oh, these, you know, gold stars for communication from when I was younger and from high school and from college and then from my different jobs that I had had, just pats on the back. Again, I have a whole, I'm sure I share more details, and I have like a squillion interviews I can link to my press page, and you can listen to the interviews where I go into more detail about all that. But the point was I was just really discovering and listening as opposed to just like consuming mindlessly. It was quiet, so I could hear that still small voice and I could start to notice the patterns of my life of like what was actually lighting me up. I did not ever expect that I was going to be starting a business just as a result of this practice, but I did. And even now the business is morphing and changing. But the point is I was so inspired from just like a month and a half of journaling, and I started to explore different avenues. Okay, is it time for me to write a book? I've always wanted to write a book. It's time for me to do a different blog because I was writing a blog just for fun, like on Blogspot. Or is it time to start a business? And I always say now I know it's all of those things. But at the time, there was so much magic happening just because I was taking that quiet time, pen to paper, just showing up and letting whatever needed to come out and come through, come out and come through, and then shuffling my feet and taking action on whatever the next right step was. So journaling was really powerful for me, and I ended up starting a business, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this episode's about. The episode is that then I was like, all right, cool, sweet. I got it from here. Thanks for the divine inspiration, God. I'm good. And then I like manhandled the ish out of my business, and I ran with it. It was great, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But the point is, I stopped journaling. I stopped waking up early. Now I'm still not waking up early. Let's be clear about that. But I did finally start journaling again recently, and I want to share it with you because it's so freaking powerful if you let it be and if you take time for it. And so anyway, I've resisted it for all this time because I think I've resisted it because I know how powerful it was. Because again, just a month and a half of waking up early, putting pen to paper, and just writing down what came to mind just really had me looking at my life and my potential and my vision in a completely different way, that it was kind of scary. So it's like, no wonder I was resisting it, because it was really powerful. And part of me literally feels like there's a book by Florence Scovel Shinn, and I can link to it in the show notes. I don't even know that I've read the whole thing. I've read her other book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. But your word is your wand. And it's like, I really feel that. I actually feel that. And it makes sense with me, right? Like with my business and the fact that I've been helping people with writing and all of that. Like, it makes sense that that's part of my superpower, writing. But it's not just about pages. And I've known that forever. But I'm finally really seeing it in a new way, which is when I take a pen to paper and I clear space, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, and I open up a book, a special book. I'm actually sad because I'm finishing this one journal that I bought at the Navy Exchange right before we left the airport in Honolulu when we were officially moving from Honolulu to Houston back in May of this year. And I'm almost done with this journal, but to be honest, I've filled half of it just in the last couple of weeks because I finally was like, I cannot avoid this any longer. I need to just clear 5 minutes and get the journal, get the pen, and write whatever the F needs to come out. And so by doing that, I've already seen so many magical things happen. One, because I almost filled this book up. And so I went to find another one because I have all these empty journals that I've collected. I've collected the journals. I know I love notebooks. And don't get me wrong, I will doodle in notebooks, like spiral bound notebooks in no particular order. Here's a side tip, because sometimes I'm like starting in the front, and then I'm in the middle, and then I'm in the back, and then I'm back to the front, middle, and whatever. And so what I do for my notebook, like my spiral notebooks, is I'll write kind of like whatever the word is, or if it's a call with someone, then I'll write that person's name up in the top corner. And then that way, when I scan back through when the notebook's done, then I just take a Sharpie and I write on the front of the notebook, like, this particular notebook has these things. It's really low key and quick and easy way to do it. I'm not a bullet journaler, although I've heard lots of great things about that. Anyway, that's a side note. So I'm talking about like journaling for just like accessing my inner wisdom. That's what I'm talking about. And so I was finishing this one book, and so I went into my office cabinets to just grab another one of my beautiful journals that I've collected but not actually really used for journaling in the last 4-ish years that I've been doing my business and such. And I found this one that's from end of November of 2014. And it just really struck me. I posted about it on my personal Facebook page. I said, starting a new journal/notebook today, looking back through the few pages I'd written back in December 2014, just over 1 month after my miscarriage. I love that I wrote this in December 2015. And then I went back to add the 31. So I had written out my goals. This was like November 30th and December 1st, 2014. And my top goals, one of my top goals was to be pregnant with a baby brother or baby sister, super healthy and strong. By December 2015, the goal was just to be pregnant by December 2015. And then I went back and added a 31 to it. And what really struck me about that is that Deacon was born on December 30th of 2015. And there's that whole, I know I've shared the TMI of Deacon's story before, but how powerful is that? it's like a time machine, basically. It's how I'm looking at it right now. And it's really exciting, and it's so accessible to all of us. And it's a habit that I'm really committing to. I say habit, I think it's more of a practice. And it's something I'm really looking forward to, because even then, so a few weeks ago, I was going through a clarity workbook from my buddy Suze, and I'll link up to her Easy Peasy LOA program, but she has a clarity workbook where she just walks you through a bunch of prompts on like, how do you actually want to feel in terms of work and success, and in terms of yourself and your health and your body, and in terms of your relationships and your home and all of these things. And so I had written it all out. And so one of my things that I wrote out was motherhood, because relationships, that you could specify a squillion different kinds of relationships. And so I wanted to write out, how do I actually want to feel in terms of motherhood and my relationship to my kids, and what do I want for them? And like, how can I actually foster that and whatever? And so I was like writing it out in present tense. And the sweetest thing, I'll again post a link to this because I posted it and shared it on Facebook last night because that's when it happened. But I was reading back through this, the journal entries from a few weeks ago when I was writing out what I wanted in each of these areas. And I was actually recording them as voice memos, so that I could just listen to them sometimes when I'm feeling lazy and I don't actually want to read or write, but I just want to listen. It's really powerful to have it in your own voice. So sometimes you're writing and you're just kind of clearing your brain, right? You're just like brain sneezing and getting it all out there. And sometimes maybe you want to pose a question to yourself, or maybe you want to use prompts from, if you're just Googling journaling prompts, or if you're following a particular workbook or a devotional or whatever it is. But like I said, for me, I just wanted to be able to listen to my ideal scenarios in each of these. So I used the voice memo app on my phone, and I recorded the one for me, for myself, and my health and my body, for my romantic relationship, my marriage, work and success, and then motherhood. And so one of the things that I read out loud for the voice memo was something that for the boys and my relationship with the boys, even when they're old enough to leave, we design our lifestyles so we can spend a lot of FaceTime together, and we text/chat daily. Although when I was reading it, I actually changed it to say regularly, because I thought, well, maybe daily's a little bit much. I don't want to be too much. Like, I want them to want to communicate with me, but it doesn't have to be daily to be satisfying. Anyway, I did that like in the middle of the day just because I felt inspired to do those voice memos. I recorded them earlier. And like I said, I had originally written that weeks ago. And then last night, after the shower time struggle over here, it's always a struggle to get Bryson to actually just get in the shower. Let's get this thing rolling, while Deacon's in the bath and we use our bathroom downstairs and everybody's down there together. And so I was like, okay, I was just waiting for him, and I was in my room while he was getting dressed and everything. And so he came up to me and snuggled after he had showered and put on his jammies, and he came up to me and like he had something to say. And then he's like, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. And then me being all short, I'm like, okay, well, go brush your teeth, and it'll come to you. And then he's like, oh, I remember. Wait, I forgot. What was it? And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, go brush your teeth and it'll come to you when you're not trying. And then he says, no, I got it. Okay, what is it, bud? And then he says to me, we can talk every morning and night, and even some noons. And I was like, well, we already talk every morning. I see you every day. And then I was like, oh my gosh, do you mean when we don't live together anymore? And then he said, yes, like the sweetest little nod. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I will always love to talk with you every day. That's a great plan. And then I was realizing he was thinking about this because Jeremy and I had actually gone on a date the night before, and my mom had come over here to hang out with the boys while we were gone. And so I was like, were you thinking about this? Because Nana came over last night to play with you guys while Daddy and I went on our date. And then he said, mm-hmm. And I was like, you want me to come babysit your kiddos one day while you go on a date? And he said, yeah. And it was just the sweetest thing because I was like, where is this coming from? This is freaking, like, whenever it clicked in my brain that when he was saying we can talk every morning and night and some noons, I was like, no way. He's not actually saying this, right? Because I literally, again, I wrote it weeks ago, but I literally had just felt completely divinely inspired to reread it out loud and to record a voice memo so that I can keep listening to it, and that just becomes what I create. It was just the sweetest thing. And it's so powerful And that's just 2 examples from the last week. So what I'm telling you is magic happens when you put pen to paper. I just feel so strongly of it. And this is something that I really do feel guided to share because it's something that I'm feeling guided to do in my own life. And like I said, these are just 2 examples from the last week where it's already just been so meaningful and significant in my life. But I just feel like we have access to the answers within us. And we really just need reminders of that. I mean, yes, some things we need to Google. Sometimes your answer and your inner voice is going to say, Google it. And that's fine. But I just really feel strongly about really committing to a journaling practice again in 2018. It literally changed my life when I did it just for a month and a half consistently in 2013. And it wasn't like a super guided, strict regimen of like, okay, I'm going to ask these questions on these days, but it's really just about showing up, having some quiet time. It doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. It could be right before you go to bed. It could be any pocket of time you get in the middle of the day. It could be you sneak away and take 5 extra minutes in the bathroom or something and keep your journal in there. Whatever you want to do, there's no excuse not to. And, you know, you're a big girl or a big boy and you can decide if you want to do this, but I just want to make a case for you because I feel so strongly that magic happens when we put pen to paper. Magic happens when you actually take time to let yourself get clear and even dream about what you actually want. What do you actually want to create? It was so powerful for me. And if you want to hear more about this, like, I'm happy to share more of what I wrote, maybe in the playground and in the Facebook group where I can connect with you. If you want to hear more about like what I wrote and what came out, then I'm happy to share it. Because I just feel lately I've just been on an obsessive kick of like connecting with future me. You know, like future Nikki, what do you think? What should we do? What are we creating? What do I need to do to get out of my own way right now? And those are just questions you can ask. Like, what is the message that needs to come through me right now? You know, what should I do today? What's holding me back? What do I really want? And why am I not going for it? Like, whatever it is, you don't even have to overanalyze it. Just doodle. Even if you don't even know what you're saying, like, just start writing. And then after like a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, you'll be out of your way and some real magic is going to come through. I just really believe it. I really believe it. So I'm going to be experimenting with that. Like I said, I'm really excited to commit to this as a practice again in 2018. And I think that honestly, a year from now, I'm going to be looking back and being like, yeah, that changed everything because I wasn't letting myself get stuck in my head. I wasn't getting all clogged and backed up. I was letting things come out and move through. And it's not to say that every time you journal, you need to share it with people. It's just getting it out. It's the practice and the exercise and the sheer literal and physical getting it out. And it's like you're increasing your creative circulation, if that makes sense. So that's my case for journaling. And again, it doesn't have to be formal. There doesn't have to be rules on it. I'm happy to talk more also about the future self stuff because I'm really geeking out over it. I actually would like to create, I don't know if you've ever done a future self meditation. I've done a few and you can Google them too. But I feel like I really want to create one because anytime I've done a future self meditation, it's just like a guided visualization basically where, you're hopefully somewhere quiet and comfortable and you just let your body relax. And then it's like you just take your mind on a journey to your future. You check her out. Like, what does she look like? And what is she wearing? And what do you notice about her hair and her skin and her body and her surroundings? Where are you? And you just literally have a conversation with your future self. It's such a powerful visualization. And so anytime I've done one though, I'm like, no, I need more time. I want more time with her. That was only a minute. Or maybe it was like too long and then I fell asleep. And then, the voice comes back and then you're like, oh shoot, I fell asleep. I didn't even get to ask her everything I wanted to ask her. Anyway, it's really powerful stuff and I'm really geeking out over it, like I said, and it's really shifting my energy and sparking my creativity. And I would love to share that with you. So if you want to help peer pressure me into actually recording that, let me know. You can tag me on Facebook or Instagram or just come into the playground naptimeempires.com/Facebook, or reply to any of my emails and just let me know if that's something that you're interested in, because it's definitely where I'm feeling pulled in 2018, and literally future 2018. Nikki is saying, like, dude, get on it, because there's so much power. Your word is your wand. That pen is like a magic wand. Any pen, you could have a special pen, but it could be any pen. And all you need is just to let it flow and see what comes up. I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to give it a try. Again, I'm trying to peer pressure you right now to just give it a try, because I think you're going to surprise yourself. And your future self is so freaking wise. She's been through it, and she loves you for, the steps that you're taking right now and whatever it is that you're going through right now, because it's making her who she is, But sometimes if you're just so tempted to like skip to the back of the book and check out the answer key, she's the one holding it. And so I'm just really excited about this idea. Let me know what you think. Give journaling a try. Just, again, pick any old notebook. Doesn't have to be super fancy. It can be if you want it to be and you want to make it a special thing, and you go to like a special Target trip and pick the journal that, speaks to you, or whatever you do. But just give yourself some time to just doodle, even if it's just a brain sneeze, even if you just start by making a list of stuff that you need to do. And then you can just ask, what do I need to know today? Or what's the message that needs to come through me today? And then see what happens. You might also want to put some music on so that it can kind of distract your brain a little bit, so that you're not so in your head about it. But keep me posted, for real. I'm really nosy and I want to know how it goes. And I hope this was helpful to you, or will be in some way. I just want to remind you, again, and me, that there's so much wisdom already here, and that we don't need to keep looking and seeking externally when there's so much wisdom that's already literally baked into us. Generations and lifetimes. All right. That's it. I'm going to go wrap some presents, and I really look forward to hearing from you on this one. So do keep me posted. Don't keep me waiting. Don't keep future you waiting. She has a lot to share. All right. Have a good one. Catch you next time. This show may be over, but the conversation is just beginning. Head on over to naptimeempires.com/Facebook so you can join my free... Wait, did I say free? I'm in priceless, rapidly growing community of Naptime Empire builders for deeper discussions, behind-the-scenes scoop, and of course, updates whenever I've got new stuff coming up for you. naptimeempires.com/Facebook. See you there.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.